Perez and Rima worked together to mulch the flower beds around an office complex in 2 6/7 hours. Working alone, it would take Perez 6 hours more than it would take Rima. How long would it take each of them to complete the landscaping working alone? Step 1 in the process is to familiarize ourselves with the problem. And what we're going to do is start by letting T equal the number of hours that it would take Rima working alone to mulch the gardens. Therefore, we know that it would take Perez T plus 6, or in other words, T plus 6 hours to do it alone. Next, let's look at the 2 6/7 hours. Let's change that to an improper fraction, 27 hours. And what we now know is 27 hours is how long they work together. And so for each of them, let's start with Rima. The amount of work that she would do would be 27 times her rate. Well, her rate, since it's T is the number of hours, her rate is 1 over T. So she would do 27 times 1 over T of the job. Now, for Perez, it's the same 27 hours, and we know that his time alone is T plus 6, and therefore his rate would be the one job over T plus 6. Again, multiplying the number of hours times his rate would tell us how much of the job that Perez does. Now, what we know is together they complete one job. So the translation we're going to do, which is step 2 in the process, is that the amount of work Rima does plus the amount of work Perez does has to add up to the one total job. So we would have 27 times 1 over T plus 27 times 1 over T plus 6, and that must add up to one complete job. Again, recognize now that we have a rational equation. We need to multiply both sides by the LCM of all the denominators. So the LCM would be 7 times T plus 6. So we're going to multiply both sides of this equation by 7T times T plus 6. So we have 27 times 1 over T plus 27 times 1 over T plus 6. And on the right-hand side, we would have 1 times 7T times T plus 6. We must distribute this factor to each of the terms inside of the square brackets. And when we do this, we would have, of course, the equivalent of 7T over 7T, so we can remove that factor of 1, and that leaves us with 20 times T plus 6. Then we have the plus sign, and when we distribute 7T times T plus 6 to this term, once again, we have the 7 over 7. We can remove that factor of 1. We would have T plus 6 over T plus 6. We can remove that factor of 1. That would leave us with 20T. On the right-hand side, of course, 1 times 7 is 7, so we have 7T, which we distribute into the parentheses, and that result is 7T squared plus 42T. On the left-hand side, we need to distribute the 20 into the parentheses. So we have 20T plus 120 plus 20T equals 7T squared plus 42T. Recognizing this as a quadratic equation, we need to have a 0 on one side. So what I'll choose to do is to first, of course, we're going to add 20t and 20t, which is 40t, but then subtract 40t from both sides. I will also subtract 120 from both sides. The result of that is 0 would be equal to 7t squared. Then we have 42t minus 40t, which is 2t. And then we have subtracting 120, so we have 7t squared plus 2t minus 120. We need to factor the right-hand side, so we have 0 equals 7t plus 30 times t minus 4. 30 times negative 4 gives us the negative 120. 30t minus 28t gives us the 2t. Now we use the principle of zero products to say 7t plus 30 equals 0, or t minus 4 equals 0. This solution, we would subtract 30 from each side and divide by 7, which gives us negative 37ths, or here we add 4 to both sides, gives us t equals 4. Since t represents a time, t equals 4 makes sense, but t equals negative 37ths does not, so we will not even consider that answer. Now, remember that t represented the time, the number of hours that it would take Rima working alone, and that t plus 6, or in other words 10, would be the number of hours that it would take Perez working alone. We just carried out the problem, which is step 3 in the process. The next step would be to check the answer. So we'll check whether Rima at 4 hours and Perez at 10 hours is the correct answer for each of them alone. To do that, we know that they each work 27th hours. So we'll multiply 27ths times Rima's rate, which would be 1 over 4, one job in 4 hours, and add to that 27ths times Perez's rate, which is one job in 10 hours, and check to make sure that that equals one total job. And when we work this out, we will find, in fact, that it does equal one total job, so it checks. And therefore, we can go to step 5 of the process, which is to state the solution. So that is that the time it takes Rima alone is 4 hours, and Perez is 10 hours.